Unique. Powers Series Book 2. Written by Starr Z. Davies. Narrated by Nathaniel Asher. 7. The cafeteria is more like a common room. It's huge, with alcoves containing comfortable pillows on stone benches carved into the wall. Wooden tables matching the planks on the walls along entries rest in each alcove. It reminds me of a massive wine cellar with tables and chairs. Some tables with wicker chairs fill the center of the room, and along the longest wall, another stone bench covered in one long cushion and dozens of mismatched pillows. In another corner, a chess and checkers table. The light is much the same as any other room, but this is much more comfortable, more like home. There are people here too, dozens of them. I can't identify most, though I do spot my friends sitting in one of the alcoves, along with Lily. Miller and I shuffle toward them with our trays. "Eugene!" Enid cries out, rushing toward me. Her shining eyes lock onto mine. Seeing Enid releases an unknown tension, and my steps feel lighter as I close the distance. All the fear and pain balled up in my stomach dissolves as she throws her arms around me the moment I set my food on the table. Enid collapses against me as I hug her back. Warmth radiates from her small body, and the contact with another person I know and trust fills me with comfort. Maybe this will be okay. I pause to revel in the moment, but we don't have the luxury of standing around, comforting each other. These people may have released us, but I don't doubt someone is watching, especially if they think one of us is a spy. "I thought we were back at Paragon, that we didn't even—" Fear creases her smooth face, reminding me of the skittish way she reacted in that first test we had together in the dead rainforest. I completely understand her apprehension. "They said we're safe here." "I know." "Are we?" I wondered the same thing myself. "We're safe," I say with more confidence than I feel. Enid pulls in a breath and steps back, stiffening. A small group of natives gives our group a fleeting, curious look as they pass along toward another table. What are they thinking? Are they watching us for Willow? Enid notices as well and takes my hand, pulling me away from the crowd. "I don't trust them," Enid says, keeping her voice low despite the closed door. "I mean, how do we know this is even real? What's saying this isn't a Paragon simulation?" I wondered that myself, but I feel like this is too much. All the people and everyday life moving around us, it's too intricate to be another simulation. Isn't it? I smile, hoping to convince her, even though I'm not close to believing it myself. Enid frowns, but nods in agreement. She glances at our hands, then lets go, stuffing her own in her pockets, then says, "And the whole transportation thing, I find it hard to accept that it was a simulation. But Paragon has so much tech we don't even know about." "What's the last thing you remember before waking up here?" I ask, sitting on one of the table chairs. Enid glances around the common room anxiously and keeps her voice low. "We all crammed into the back of the truck at Let Us Eat, and it started rumbling down the road. I noticed people started falling asleep, and when I looked at you, you told me that something wasn't right." I don't remember any of this. How can I have a conversation with her that I don't even remember? "Then you pointed at the vent, and we saw the gas pumping into the truck, but you were groggy already." Enid shifts, hugging her arms tight over her chest. "I tried to use my power to stop it, but by then it was too late. There was too much in the back of the truck, and just about everyone else was already out." Her eyes shimmer with tears. "I'm sorry. I tried. I really did." I rest a hand on her shoulder, offering reassurance. "It isn't your fault. I don't think any of us could have stopped it." Enid's gaze falls to my hand, and she gives a small nod. "Why are we here, Eugene?" I shake my head. No good answer comes to mind. "Because of my mom, I assume. I mean, she must have known when she gave me that address that Harvey would put us on that truck. And I have to believe she knew that truck would bring us here. Though I suppose that doesn't really answer the why. I turn back toward our friends, then hesitate, glancing at her over my shoulder. Did Willow say anything to you about a spy in our group? Enid shakes her head. A spy for who? We don't have contact with many people. I can trust Enid. I have trusted Enid. Willow said they know one of us is a spy for either Paragon or the Directorate, and she was wondering if we would have any clues as to who. Enid scowls. Sounds like a ploy to cause division between us, if you ask me. Yeah, but I don't know that I agree. If the Protectorate is really after information, and the Directorate is after them, it would make sense to insert a spy. And using a group as big as ours, it would be easy to pull off. You believe her, Enid says. I don't want to admit it to her, but I nod. Ugene, Paragon used the same tactics to keep us from banding together because they knew it would make us dangerous. Why would this group be any different? I agree, to some extent. But think about it, Enid. If you wanted to find out where a group of underground resistance fighters was hiding, don't you think a group like ours would be the easiest way to do it? Dr. Cass knew we were trying to escape. She could have easily inserted someone into our massive group in case we succeeded. No, Enid's back stiffens. Because she couldn't have known we would end up here. Why not? I wave a hand around us. Where else would we go? They knew that the Protectorate was somehow gathering up people with weak powers. Our group is a huge, obvious target. Enid resists at first, but I can see that she starts to accept my explanation. So, what's our play here? I'm not sure yet, I admit. My plan was to get us out, which I did. Beyond that, I have no idea. But I'll figure it out. Enid nods as if she already knew as much. Her faith in me is unwavering. I only hope I don't let her down. We rejoin the others. When I get back to the table, Madison is staring at Miller, anxiety twisting her forehead in knots. Miller picks at his pancakes carelessly, and I watch as he pulls one of them to pieces but doesn't eat a bite. Unfiltered chatter makes this common room livelier than the one at Paragon ever was. People talk and laugh at their tables, say hi as they pass one another, and come and go freely. The illusion of freedom offers some comfort as I finish my meal and sit back on the bench, watching. At Paragon, everyone appeared run down, often an inch from death. Few people talked, and no one just walked around the room to meet with different people. They came in, ate their meals, and left. But this place, it's almost peaceful. After everything I've been through, and losing Dad, Bianca, Celeste, and Mo, along with so many others I didn't really know, I don't think peace is anything but fleeting. We may have escaped Paragon, but this is far from over. When I led these people out of Paragon, I started a fight we can't possibly win, especially if the Directorate has a part, as Willow suggested. How many more will I lose before the end? I glance around the table at my friends, Madison, Enid, Sho, Boyd, Leo, Miller. I can't handle losing any of them like I lost Bianca. Bianca. Her last words to me weren't poetic. They didn't offer any sort of closure. She simply kissed me and told me to go. And I did. I left her body there on the floor of the Paragon lobby and fled. I'm not a leader or a legend. That makes me a coward, doesn't it? And Celeste. I still don't understand what happened to her. One moment she was standing in the lobby with the few of us who remained. The next, she was bursting with blinding cosmic light, destroying everything in its path, burning the somatic Bianca had been fighting right out of his shoes, as if he didn't exist. But when the light faded, Celeste was gone, as if she had never been. To what end? Did she burn herself up? Was she still there in Paragon somewhere? It feels more like a sacrifice on Celeste's part than any sort of salvation. Did I actually help anyone by leading the escape from Paragon, or just lead a bunch of new people to an early death? Ugene? Boyd's voice calls me back from my misery. You okay? I blink and focus on his face across the table, behind a large stack of pancakes. Tears slip out and roll down my cheeks. I quickly brush them away and suck in a shuddering breath, smiling as a trickle of relief at seeing his face washes through me. Yeah, fine. Why do I keep telling lies? Tears of joy, then? Boyd asks, his deadpan tone making it obvious that he doesn't believe me. Come on, talk to us, after everything we've been through. I'll be fine, I say. It comes and goes. Not a big deal. Nothing would interest me less than talking about my feelings. The Protectorate people drift out of the room. Miller snoozes beside me, alternately snoring softly and shifting restlessly in his seat. He's hardly eaten more than half a pancake. Madison raises her brows impatiently at me, and I wonder why. Did I miss something? What? I try sending the question out with my mind. We need to talk about Miller, Madison says, watching him snooze. I'm worried about what's going on in there. It's distracting. I know, I think. It's a side effect of losing his powers. No. Madison's lips compress. It's inexplicable. His mind is both racing and completely empty at the same time, like there are two different parts of him. One that's running like a hamster caught in a wheel, and the other that's just sort of dead. He's going to be fine, I say, though I don't really feel as confident in my words as I should be. Obviously, he isn't dead. But he wants to be. The despair on Madison's face makes me tense. Is Miller really so bad off? It's my fault. He would still have his powers if those security guards hadn't shot at me. He needs help, sooner than later. Madison adds the last with pressing emphasis. I nod stiffly, glancing at Miller as he snoozes. I want to understand, but I don't. Not really. Being powerless sucks, but it isn't the end of his life. I should be proof enough of that. A somatic I recognize from Paragon approaches with a blonde girl holding his hand, distracting me from the conversation with Madison. He was the one who carried Miller out of the building and saved him. Glad to see your face, the somatic says to me as he reaches the table. Sadly, I don't even know his name. Noah was one of the first out, Show offers. Noah. I open my mouth to thank him for helping us when we escaped, but before I can say anything more, Willow marches into the room. 8. Only those who escaped Paragon remain in the common room. We all shuffle closer to Willow as conversations die down. Enid shifts toward me. Everyone has turned attention to Willow. The way that woman commands their attention makes my skin crawl. I know you have all been through a horrific ordeal, and you survived it by sticking together, Willow says. I admire your determination and courage. What you've managed is no easy task. With that said, I understand why some of you are hesitant to trust us. She glances toward Enid and me for a second. And I want to apologize for how long it took to get some of you through the intake process. Enid and I both grunt, which catches Chase's attention beside Willow. Enid shrinks back, but I don't. He's a muscle-bound bully, just like any other. I've had enough of being intimidated by people like him. The shield has a noble purpose, Willow continues. We protect those the Directorate and Paragon have targeted. We rescue those the Directorate has turned out of Elpis under the guise of the consumption tax. People whom the Directorate believes are useless to the future of the city. We gather, we grow, and we fight back. A few people in the gathering shift or nod, murmuring their agreement. Is she really inspiring them? Are they really falling for this? I don't like it. Something about the whole thing feels off. I almost want to believe her. Miller snorts loudly in his sleep, and I elbow his side. He opens his eyes, staring at me through tired, empty blue irises. Hearing Willow's voice makes him sit a little more upright, but he still slouches low like he doesn't care. He probably doesn't. To do this, we work together as a community, Willow says, causing the murmurs to fall silent. We respect each other and our common purpose. Everyone is encouraged to find their own way to contribute to life in the Shield, and anyone who wants to help fight the Directorate and Paragon is welcome. These people aren't soldiers. Even if they want to fight back, we don't have the collective strength to do it. Not against the Directorate. Fighting out of Paragon was one thing. What she is asking is something else completely. Willow's subtle manipulation to encourage voluntary recruitment will get some of these people in trouble. We came here to be safe. I won't let Willow use these people. What exactly is this group doing to fight against the Directorate? I ask, making sure I get the attention of not just Willow, but everyone in the room. They all followed me out of Paragon, so if they want me to lead, I will. Willow turns on her heel, and her ponytail swings like a pendulum behind her head. Are you interested in joining the Protectorate, Ugene? I'm interested in transparency, I say, crossing my arms. We've been manipulated long enough. Chase subtly moves his position halfway between Willow and me, just at the edge of our direct line of sight. The guy is a beast, and he could probably crush me without breaking a sweat, but he won't. He's nothing more than a dog obeying his master's commands. Says the man using information stolen from Paragon as a bargaining chip, Willow says. Only a few of us knew about the drive, and Willow's announcement creates a stir of confusion and curiosity from the others. No point in denying it. You're right, I say. We struggled to escape that nightmare. We fought side by side against the worst odds, far beyond anything you could imagine. We lost more than 60% of the people who started the journey with us, all to save ourselves and get that information out of Paragon. Why are we here, Willow? I cross my arms. Because Paragon is looking for you, Willow says. The only way you can be safely away from their grasp is here, underground with us. Because we all need each other to prove the Directorate is wrong. I won't let Willow use us, or that drive, as a manipulation device to force a wedge between our group. You want to know what's on that drive? I ask, more for the benefit of the others than for Willow. We have video evidence against Paragon. Proof that they have not only been conducting unethical experiments on test subjects, but that some of those experiments have resulted in deaths they have covered up. And there's a chance we could have downloaded the formulas from those experiments, but the data is encrypted. My announcement gains a wave of alarmed responses, from yelps, gasps, and wide eyes to heads shaking in denial. Madison and Noah adopt expressions of horror. The blonde girl beside Noah clings to his arm. She now realizes what a few of us already knew. Any one of us could have been next in those experiments. That's why my friends and I worked so hard to save everyone, I say. The full steam of my confidence and anger propels me forward. So tell me something, Willow. Besides rescuing the helpless from the Deadlands, what are you doing to fight back? What secret missions are you running that would risk the lives of people who aren't strong enough to stand up against the Directorate? How are you any better than them? Wars are won through action, not inaction, Willow says. We aren't soldiers. We won't fight a war for you, I say. Enough people have died. The tension in the room is thick. I cock my head to the side at Willow's silence. Time to move in for the kill before she has a chance to recover. Tell us honestly, Willow. If you didn't need one of us, would you turn us back into Paragon? Willow's eyes shoot wide open. What? I take a confident step forward. You need something from us. But once you have it, if it kept the Directorate off your back, would you turn us into Paragon? We don't give them people, Willow says, perching white-knuckled fists on her hips. We save people from them. It would go against everything we have worked for to turn anyone over. Everyone is valuable to us. The Directorate has been seeking us out for years and hasn't found us yet. I don't expect that to change anytime soon. Do you? I will do everything within my meager, powerless power to protect every person that came out of that building with me, I say. We lost enough already. No one else will die for your cause. Willow stalks toward me, one cat-like step at a time, like a lioness hunting her prey. What do you think is happening out there right now, Ugene? While you worry about Paragon and Dr. Cass, Directorate Chief Cetus prepares something bigger. Who do you think pushed for the consumption tax that targets the more impoverished neighborhoods like Pax? Who do you think is ordering the DMA to double and triple sweeps of offenders? Do you even know what's going on in Pax? Mothers starve to death so their children can eat. Citizens turn to crime just to pay back taxes or provide for their friends and family. The Directorate and Cetus, they don't care. They get rich and take advantage of the weak. If you think this isn't a war, you have lived a sheltered life. I grimace. No one breathes, as if the tension has drawn out all the oxygen. Everyone who escaped with me learned on the metro that I grew up in Salis, one of the richest boroughs in the city. Does Willow know that? She must if she knows who my mom is. Every muscle in my body is coiled tight. Enid must sense it because she slips her hands around my bicep, giving it a reassuring squeeze. Willow lets out a breath, and with it, her shoulders slump. Ugene, she says in a softer tone, I recognize everything you've been through, everything you've suffered. Truly, I do. And you've all made it out against all odds. But there are still people suffering, and if we don't help them, no one will. It's the curse of the leader, burdened with knowledge, to bear the responsibility of using that knowledge to liberate others. That is what we do here. Everyone is watching me, waiting to see how I respond. I look at each of them, weighing their expressions, measuring their reactions. Some of them sag, weighed down by everything. Others sit up straighter, and I already know they will be among the first to volunteer to help the Protectorate. Noah among them. Maybe he thinks that since he's a strong arm, he can make a difference. Show me, I say at last. Miller groans. Willow tilts her head to the side. Show you? I want to see Pax, I say, putting my shoulders back. I want to walk the streets and see the people and witness all of this for myself. You just got here, Willow says, her palms up and gaze fixed on me. I've been here for days. I'm ready to see this truth for myself. I slip off the bench and step closer to Willow, lowering my voice. These people follow me. If you want us to help you, then you need to convince me. Show me. Willow sputters for a moment, and as she does, a few of the others rise in a show of solidarity. Did they hear what I said? Noah and his blonde female friend, Leo, Madison, Rosie, a guy I only vaguely recognize. Soon, 10 of us stand together out of the 42 gathered. With each who joins me, I fight off a satisfied grin threatening to stretch across my face. Instead, I do my best to stare her down, remaining as stoic as possible. I feel taller than I have in a long time. Willow and Chase exchange looks, and again I wonder if they are communicating via telepathy. Finally, Willow presses the heels of her palms into her eyes and releases an exaggerated sigh. Fine, but it will take some time to arrange. My heart races, but I don't yield any ground, afraid it might make Willow change her mind. Fine. Did she really just agree to take me to Pax, or was she just trying to shut me up? She agreed too easily. Maybe she's playing a game with me, but I don't understand the rules yet. 9. The Protectorate releases our group into the general population. Everyone is welcome to move around the shield freely. Willow encourages us to use our maps to explore and find a place to contribute. Enid hangs back with me as others filter out of the common room. Madison, I call as the girl heads toward the door. Madison says something to another girl, then jogs up to me. What is it? Paragon may have planted a spy in our group, I say, sending her a telepathic message. Madison's eyes widen and her jaw slackens as she glances from me to Enid and back again. Are you sure? No, but I need you to try and read everyone who came with us, see what you can find out. I bite my lip before continuing. And I need you to try and read the natives to this place, see if they're hiding something from us. Madison hesitates. Eugene, there are people here who are stronger than me. I nod. I understand, but I need you to try. I'll do what I can, she says. Enid watches the two of us curiously, but my gaze shoots past both girls as someone approaches Willow, and the two dart out of the common room like there's a fire, with Chase on Willow's heels, as always. I drop a hand on Enid's shoulder. Get Miller to my quarters, will you? And make sure he isn't alone. Why? What? Enid turns after me, but I don't wait for her to finish before rushing out after Willow. Keeping up with Willow and Chase while not letting anyone notice I'm following them is more difficult than I expected. The tunnels are so long that I have to wait for them to turn a corner before entering the tunnel in their wake. Then I rush down the tunnel to reach the next intersection before they disappear again, while simultaneously appearing not to rush and gather attention. More than once, I tuck my hands casually into the pockets of my jacket and try to act like I'm just wandering aimlessly as someone steps out from a room or enters the tunnel headed my way. Unfortunately, this level of stealth means I can't hear Willow or Chase's conversation along the way. I'm too far behind to hear much more than distant voices carrying off the walls. I nearly lose them at one intersection, stepping out and checking both directions, then ducking out of sight when I spot them at the far end of the left junction talking to Doc. The tunnel is probably a good 60 feet long, and they speak in urgent whispers so I can't hear any of the exchange. I hide around the corner, listening to make sure their voices continue as I fumble out my map. Where are we? The same level as the common room, but we turned down several intersections. I glance up from my study of the map to read the sign on the door next to me, then compare it to the map. Willow, Doc, and Chase are outside medical. What's going on there that would be so urgent? Silence fills the tunnels. They stopped talking. I dare to peek out. The tunnel is empty. Did they enter medical? Just in case I run into one of them, I keep my map out as I round the corner, walking at a casual pace and keeping my eyes fixed on the map in my hand. If they catch me, I can try to claim I was just getting acquainted with the shield's layout. The closer I get to the medical bay, the commotion catches my attention from within. Before I go in to get a closer look, I peek around the corner to get a handle on where everyone is, particularly Willow, Chase, and Doc. A handful of people, young and old, in scrubs rush around the medical bay as Dr. Lydia barks out orders. 5 of the beds are newly occupied, and medical tools rest on steel trays colored with fresh blood. One of the patients, a guy I can't really see too well from my hiding place, begins seizing. "Hold him down," Dr. Lydia barks. Chase appears beside the seizing patient and pins his shoulder to the table as Doc injects something into the patient's arm. A moment later, the seizing stops. He goes limp. But the twisting in my gut starts. That seizure reminded me of Miller thrashing on the Paragon floor after they shot him. "I can't heal her," one of the women in scrubs calls out to Dr. Lydia. "Someone go find that Rosie girl," Dr. Lydia barks. "Tell her if she doesn't come help, this girl will die." I slip into the medical bay and hide behind one of the curtains. No one notices me enter in all the chaos. Just as I dip out of sight, someone in scrubs hands something to Willow, and I strain to hear their conversation over the commotion from the doctors and nurses, or whatever they call themselves here. Another woman in clean scrubs runs out of the medical bay, presumably to find Rosie. "Jamie said it might be damaged," Scrubs guy tells Willow. "Well, hopefully something from it is salvageable, or this mission was for nothing." Willow's voice is a combination of concern and irritation. The smell of antiseptic, blood, and urine is overpowering. I struggle to keep from gagging and giving myself away. Swallowing bile, I close my eyes for a moment. "Not completely for nothing," Scrubs guy says to Willow. "Is that?" He says it is. I peer out from behind the curtain, just in time to see Willow tuck something under her shirt at the small of her back. I can't make out what it was. Dr. Lydia's voice is closer to where I'm hiding, and I can't hear anything more of Willow's conversation over Dr. Lydia's admonishing tone. "Jamie, I told you to stop overexerting yourself. You push your power too far." "I had no choice, Lydia," the patient, presumably this Jamie person, says. His voice chafes at my memory. "The directorate was on top of us. If I hadn't, she wouldn't have made it back here. None of us would have." Where do I know that voice from? "I'm putting you on the reserve list," Dr. Lydia says. Something like cloth rustles from the other side of the curtain. "Please, I can't stay here. I have to keep going out there." "You're killing yourself." "I know what I'm about." The familiar voice flashes me back to a memory from the final survival test when we were trying to escape the simulated Paragon Tower. "I'll kill you all!" My heart jumps into my throat. Caution aside, I step out from my hiding place so I can get a clear look at the guy. His red hair isn't a mess, and he sits up confidently on the edge of the cot, back straight, but there's no doubt in my mind. Murphy. The name is barely a whisper from my lips, and my feet shuffle toward the bed almost of their own accord. I could never forget the feral way he screamed and leaped at me in that office in the simulation. My sudden appearance attracts attention. "Ugene, what are you doing here?" Willow asks from across the medical bay. I ignore her. You're Murphy," I say. He looks at me like I'm crazy, head cocked slightly to the side, but there's no mistaking those green eyes, no longer wild with rage, but curious. He leans forward. "Who are you?" "Miller, It's him. It's really Murphy. At the mention of Miller's name, Murphy's eyes widen, and he sinks back, staring at me. I realize he's waiting for me to say more. "Ugene!" Willow marches over, but I don't care. Murphy, or Jamie, as Dr. Lydia called him, is the reason Miller betrayed us in Paragon. And here he is, right in front of me. I lick my lips, excited. "Okay, we were together at Paragon. I'm Ugene. Miller was my mentor." Murphy's eyes narrow slightly. "Is he okay?" His gaze flits around the room. "Where is he?" "He jumped in front of a bullet for me when we escaped." Murphy sucks in a sharp breath and his shoulders slump. "He's fine," Dr. Lydia says, making a few notes on the tablet. "Unlike you, if you don't quit overusing your power." Murphy waves her off. "He's not fine," I say sharply. "The bullet had something in it that removed his powers." Willow steps in front of me, taking my arm and pulling me away from the bed toward the exit. "You don't need to be in here right now." I resist, pulling back and shaking her off, which isn't easy. Her grip is oddly strong. "Where is he?" Murphy asks again, slipping off the edge of the cot, towering several inches over me. "Jamie, sit down." Dr. Lydia crosses her arms and cuts off his path. "You need to rest." Murphy ignores her and easily sidesteps. "My quarters," I say. Murphy grabs a fleece-lined denim jacket off the cot and bolts toward the door before Dr. Lydia or Willow can stop him. I jog to catch up. Murphy exudes confidence as he makes long strides down the hallway, shoulders squared, and the jacket clenched tight in his fist. I can't help but admire his sudden determination. "Who are you then?" Murphy asks, turning left at a fork in the tunnel. Wait, I thought I already told him. "As I said before, my name's Ugene. Miller and I are friends." We take a sharp right and descend a set of stone steps. At the bottom, Murphy casts a sidelong, furtive glance at me. He's sizing me up, though I'm not sure why. "So, you both came with that big Paragon group?" he asks. "Yeah." He knew about the group already. How could he not have known about Miller? Unless Willow didn't tell him. But why would she keep it from him? Murphy's jaw clenches, and the muscles in his neck become more distinguishable. "He took a bullet for you, huh?" Murphy asks as we round a corner. He won't look at me for some reason. "Why?" I open my mouth, but no explanation comes out. I don't really know why. My lack of answers seems to irritate Murphy. He clenches his jacket tighter, making the muscles in his shoulders tense. "I wasn't sure we would find you," I say. "Miller told me all about you, Murphy." "Jamie." "What?" "It's Jamie, not Murphy." I frown. Why would he not be Murphy? Miller never called him Jamie. But then again, everyone else did. Willow, Dr. Lydia. Maybe Murphy was just for Miller, like a pet name or something. Jamie casts that critical glare at me again, and I'm not sure why. "Then you two were close?" "Sure, we spent a lot of time together." His pace slows gradually until he comes to a full stop, turning to face me. He looks almost hurt. What does that mean? Oh, now I get it. He thinks Miller and I are a thing. "It's not like that at all," I say, quickly, maybe too quickly. "We're just friends." Jamie shrugs and turns forward to continue, his stride growing in length like he wants to lose me. Maybe he does. "As I said, he talked about you all the time." We enter the silo, and I nod toward where my quarters are. Jamie's stride only slows slightly. "Like what?" Jamie asks. "That he loves you, for starters," I say, "and that he would walk through fire for you." Jamie's expression softens. "He said that?" "Well, not exactly in those words, but it was pretty clearly implied. To say the least. Miller turned the rest of us into Paragon just so he could get information about Jamie. If he hadn't chosen to stay with me in the lobby, if he hadn't taken that bullet for me, I'm not sure I would have the heart to forgive him. Did the fact that Jamie is here play into Miller's decision to stay with me? If Miller is the spy, Paragon might have told him Jamie was here, which would motivate Miller to make a deal. He did it before. Maybe this is all part of Paragon's plan. As I struggle with this line of thought, Jamie steps through the open door to my quarters. Should I follow? Yes. I need to see how Miller reacts to seeing Jamie. I need to exonerate him. Enid paces the doorway to my quarters, watching up the gangway. As soon as she sees me, her shoulders sag with relief. "What is going on?" she asks, glancing curiously at Jamie. "Thanks for watching him," I say. Miller sits upright on the edge of my bed, shoulders sloped downward with his hands stuffed deep in the pockets of his hoodie. He's staring at nothing. It's like nothing else exists but the wall. Jamie freezes, the tension in his shoulders sagging away as he takes in the state of Miller. I give Jamie a moment, but he just stands there. Biting my lip, I step forward just enough to see the tears welling in Jamie's eyes. Maybe I can act as a buffer here. I give Jamie a pat on the shoulder and approach Miller, pulling a chair over from the table and taking a seat across from him so I fill his line of sight. "Hey, Miller." Nothing but a slow blink. "Good news," I say, hoping he is actually listening. Miller's state is almost catatonic. "I found Murphy." Miller blinks a few times, and his eyes begin to focus on me. He releases a breath that makes his entire body shake. "Here?" I nod, offering him a reassuring smile. "Yes, here." No surprise breaks his blank expression, but Miller's voice cracks as he speaks. "He can't see me like this." I bite my lip. "Well, maybe pull yourself together a little bit then, because he's waiting by the door." I glance over at Jamie, waving him over. Miller swallows a lump in his throat and slowly turns his head toward the door. Upon seeing Jamie, he sucks in a shuddering breath. "Murph." Miller's never sounded so small or weak, or relieved. Jamie shuffles closer, draping his jacket over the back of a chair as he passes. Miller rises, his limbs shaking as he steadies himself. "Miller." Jamie's voice quivers, Then a smile stretches across his face, and he closes the distance in a few strides and pulls Miller into a tight hug. Miller shakes, buries his face in Jamie's neck, and returns the hug. I slip away from the two of them toward the door. Miller pulls back and brushes red hair away from Jamie's face, his hand lingering tenderly. "I'm sorry." Jamie runs his fingers through Miller's blonde hair and leans their foreheads together. Even if this means Miller is a spy for Paragon, I can't help feeling happy for the two of them. How far would I go if I could be with Bianca again? Sadly, I'll never know.
If you enjoyed this sample, click the links in the description to hear more. Do you want free audiobooks, ebooks, or autographed paperbacks? Join me on Patreon at patreon.com/szdavies_character-assassin. You'll gain access to my Discord server, behind-the-scenes updates, merch, and so much more.